Good evening. It is December 29th, and I'm on. Here we are, Between the Lines, our 55th show since we started the summer of 21. It's great. We have Mayor Terry Frank with us, who's been the mayor for about 10 years and 3 months, or maybe 4 months, September 1st of 12. It's been a great year in the county, a lot of good things going on. Couple of things. I wore my Tennessee tie. Josh Dobbs is starting tonight for the Tennessee Titans. They've got to try to find a solution. So I celebrate that. Everybody, all UT fans, let's watch Josh tonight. It's not going to be Tannehill. It's not going to be the quarterback from Liberty. It's going to be Josh Dobbs. He just joined the team Monday, but they feel like he's ready to play and show himself. So that's going to be fun to watch.
That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He picked it up quick. I mean, obviously aerospace engineering and all that. He picked up the offense pretty quick, and let's hope he can shoot rockets or whatever the proper analogy is. Trying to think of anything else that I need to discuss beforehand. I think we're good. I think we're ready for a new year. Thanks to a lot of things, everybody seems to be flush with revenue, but that doesn't mean we need to spend it crazy. And I think Mayor Frank is a good example of strong conservative fiscal management, and I think we're trying to get there. She doesn't make those decisions, county commission does, but her input's valuable all the way across the board. Then she has to manage the money. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you.
That's all I got. I had to make all that up. Yeah, that was good. It's as good as I can do. I'd look over some notes on the county, and there's 3 areas. We only got 48 minutes. As you and I said, we could talk 4 hours. We've been at this. I met you 28 years ago. We've been doing politics ever since then. We have challenges in the county. We certainly have some opportunities. We have some newly elected officials.
We do.
That was sorely needed. And we need on the legislative side of things, and we've seen some accomplishments. Tell me how we've done coming out of COVID. I mean, the government sent us a ton of money. That was nice. But where are we at in the county? And I really think that the EMS and the county did a good job, and I think Governor Lee did a good job in responding to the COVID crisis, but not over-responding. See, I had issues with Oak Ridge schools and some other things about overreacting a little bit. I didn't see that from Parrott, certainly didn't see that from Kelly, but I thought that in their smaller, well, not the county, but Quinton's contained system, but they came and they did it well. So, as my listeners say, Alan, talk less. Go ahead.
Well, coming out of COVID, I mean, I think 2022 was a year where we're still coming out of COVID and we still see cases, but the shutdowns and a lot of the disruption, supply chain disruption, a lot of those things that I call 2022 just a year of work. I mean, playing catch up. And I think we've learned a lot coming out of it. We see even nationwide some of the, I guess, the lockdowns or some of the things we did with young people definitely have proven to have a detrimental effect to learning, especially with some of the younger children. So, but all in all, I think Anderson County has fared very well. I think our cities have fared very well. I think overall you have a very cautious mindset that exists here, and maybe that's just kind of the conservative nature of Tennessee, but I didn't see anybody getting really wild with the checkbook or anything like that. There was just this spirit of let's be cautious, let's take measured next steps and see where we are, get a real good gauge of where we are.
I have some young people at UT that are students that work in campaigns and other things with me, and they're driving home from California and Boston. What's going on with South? I'm just asking. This is not really part of the content. Southwest Airlines. Do you know what's going on?
I do not know.
Nobody can get on a plane.
I don't know.
They're having to drive from everywhere. I mean, people tried to explain it to me. You made me think about COVID in that sense. I tell you, it's interesting. I probably know 10 people that have COVID right now, maybe 15. There seems to be a ramping up of it, and that goes 2-3 days, and everybody's out of it, except for some selective people who have issues and reactions to it. Right. But I think it's coming through. I think it'll go through, just like when we were kids. We went through about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Caleb was very sick, and I was a little bit sick. But I think it's gone through everybody. And I think we're learning how to deal with things in a more, what's the word I want, a more reasonable way in that kind of sense. So all the things that we had in place that relate to county government, EMS regulations, everything. Are we still in the same, or have we loosened up on some of those things? I don't even know what they are, to be honest with you, but I know every government had restrictions.
I think there's a lot of loosening up. I know there were some long-term changes for EMS just with patient care.
Yeah.
That regulation was inserted there. I think, Alan, there are some lasting effects with the healthcare industry where you had a lot of people that, they were working overtime. They were working really hard. They were working under extreme pressure, and they left, and they just haven't come back, and they're not coming back.
Yes.
And so that's one of the issues that we see. In local government, we feel the impact on the EMS side. I talk regularly with the other counties as well, their county mayors, other folks, private, public systems. You see a lot of wait times at the hospitals, and a lot of it is, staffing shortages at the hospital. And even if they have a staffed ER, maybe they don't have staff to admit a patient, for that level. And so, it's not unusual to have 3 hours to offload a patient, 6 hours to offload a
Wow.
patient. So you're still seeing some of those lingering impacts of COVID. And I don't know if we recover from that. So recently I was at a meeting with some folks from Covenant Health, the whole system, and we were sitting around the table with some state reps and senators and just trying to come up with some ideas, like what do we do? How do we get more people into the system? How do we encourage more people to become doctors, nurses?
Sure.
That continues to be a challenge. So
I work in the nuclear industry, and I can tell you that they're struggling to get enough employees into the 3 contractors, OEMs here, to get enough to get the job done. It's become very hard. But probably the best example is, and Brad will speak to this better than any of us, we can't get a letter to the post office to our homes. I have a great mail carrier up in north central Oak Ridge, just a great guy. But Brad will tell you that getting a check from Oliver Springs here takes 12 days, 14, 15 days. He said they can't explain why. They say they're backed up, but some places it's good, some places it's not. So Congressman Fleischman was here last week, and he came and he said, we're hearing it in every part of the world, every part of the country. They can't get the postal stuff delivered. They're shorthanded. When I was a kid, that was the best job, right? That was a government job,
right.
Federal pay. People were starting out at 30 and 40,000 when everybody else was 15 days. It was a great job. Now nobody wants to do that either. And we find in our engineering firm and other places that people got used to staying home. We get them in 1 or 2 days a week now in certain areas. But I don't know, Terry.
Yes.
I don't know if people ever get used to going back. Now, some people figure out we can save money not going back.
Yeah.
And that's not good for construction and builders and stuff, but I watched the real estate boom and how it's all crashed on everybody. I was laughing because, you got to find a place to go, when it's different. So I think you're right. I think supply chains are really, really... Rick Shin, our friend, building these wonderful apartments. If you never get a chance, go into those apartments over across from downtown, and they're just gorgeous. Electrical panels, 1-year delivery, 10 months delivery.
Yes.
That's, how do you
You're
keep
seeing
up?
that on, traffic lights. City of Clinton has all the equipment, but no panel. And ordering an ambulance, 2 years to wait for an ambulance. I was chatting with the mayor of Scott County. They have a new mayor there. The one that they just ordered 3 years to get an ambulance.
That's crazy.
And then, what do you tell people when they dial 911? Well, we're waiting.
Let's send the buggy in.
Yes. Eventually we're going to be in the business of explaining that, and that's kind of frightening.
I know a little bit about business, and the supply chain is dependent on several issues, and it just seems like the things are the biggest priorities for us. We've done a better job, and obviously people have learned over Christmas we have some airline problems, and there's some other problems, but I wonder if people won't come to work, or they just can't find them to hire them, or did we, and you and I have a more conservative approach on economy, but did we get to the point where people got used to getting money and they can't equate working for it and getting it? And I don't think that's true for most people, but I think
Yeah.
there's just some people that the system took care of them. It was classical socialism where you basically got what you needed. You got a check. For about 18 months, they were getting stimulus
Yes.
and stuff. And,
Yes.
and working people were getting it too, to
Yeah.
be fair. But it's just, I think it's disrupted the way we look for jobs and go to work.
Yeah.
I think it's just, it's much.
Well, and I
much-
think a lot of people that moved here, Tennessee is one of the, I think I was looking at some numbers yesterday in terms of population growth from the 2020 census numbers and where we are now. We're in the top 10 for people coming here, and I think it's one of those things where the ability to work from home, think about what you want out of life. I think, people said, hey, this is an opportunity that they probably never, they're stuck in the day-to-day work, and that disruption caused them to think about where they want to go the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So we're seeing a lot of that.
You went to the border with Senator Hager?
I did.
How did that work?
So that was really fascinating. You and
Texas?
Yes.
New Mexico? Okay, Texas.
Yes.
Okay.
So, opiates, ever since I first ran for office, that's just been a big issue
Yeah,
that the addiction issue, the impact on Appalachia, the impact on our community, it just touches everything from schools to the jail issues across the board. So it's been something I've followed. So I was just lucky enough to be chosen to attend with some other sheriffs, another mayor, Crystal Ottinger from Cott County went, and we were there on the border. So the Border Patrol toured us around. We got to meet with the state police. We met with some local police in some of the border towns. Mm-hmm. And I think, as we talk about the immigration issue and the flow of drugs and fentanyl, we met with some ranchers, farmers. I think a lot of the debate misses the fact that we're just sending money directly to the cartels. And whether you're on a boat or you're standing, on the riverbank, even the public parks, the cartels control all of it. And so you hear it from whether it's the local police to the farmers.
On the American side of the border?
On the Mexico side.
Okay.
And so for instance, if you bring, they have some lovely parks there on the river. You bring your family in for a day at the park, the cartels are there. And if you come in with 6 people in the car, you better be leaving with 6 people in the car or you're paying the cartels. Mm-hmm. And all of that, the system is, we're looking at it as, do we need to build the wall and be tougher on the border? And we're thinking in policy, on one side from the Biden administration, and then let's go back to the Trump or to the Republicans. We need to control the border. And somehow the cartels are getting to slip by out of this conversation. Yeah. Because even if you were pro-Biden, at the end of the day, these people that are coming over are still paying the cartels. And that's delegitimizing the Mexican government. It's enabling more flow of narcotics and the human trafficking. And how, I guess to me, that's the thing that I can't get, why people in that policy arena aren't more outraged about that. And you heard that from the Border Patrol. And they're there. I mean, Alan, it was crazy. So we're out, at 1 a.m. They take us out. And there are folks they walk in. We saw a whole contingency from Cuba. And essentially, the Border Patrol's driving us around, and they said, they pull up, and this group of young people, they're like, where do we go? Where do we check in? And they're like, well, just keep walking, And the first thing we did was we give them a mask, and then they get the clipboard, and then we send them to, the government organizations that fly them to different places around the country. I had two 2 people sitting with me on my flight back. They had their manila envelope, didn't speak English.
Are we turning anybody away?
Not that, to my knowledge, no. I mean, we process. And as you can imagine, I mean, you're a Border Patrol agent. Your job is to protect the border, and essentially you're just a processor like at Disney World. Next. But every person that's coming over represents some kind of payment to the cartels or indentured servitude to the cartel or something.
Wow. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. I want to talk about fentanyl and the impact on the community.
Okay.
I know how it was 6-8 years ago. Has it gotten better? Is it worse? I know they had massive overdoses during COVID because everybody was stuck at home, right?
Yes.
We'll be back. Let's take a short break.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
DEPR.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern takes professional diagnosis and treatment.
Anxiety. I thought so.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/know-the-risks.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Mayor Frank's trip to the border with Senator Haggard to get a better perspective is what we've been talking about on some of the problems. But the problems manifest themselves here. And it seems like a year or two ago, overdoses seem to be rampant, almost like, I'm going to say I heard 20, 30 in a year in Anderson County, maybe more. It seems like it's calmed down a little bit.
Yes.
What do you
We
hear?
are taking a good turn. So 2019, our numbers had started coming down, and then kind of tracking with COVID, whether it's the influx of federal government money or access to funds, depression, a whole host of other issues, that I'm not qualified enough to dig down into all of the reasons, but our numbers spiked. And so far, the last 6 months, our numbers have been looking a lot better. The trend line's going the opposite way.
Well, that's good, and let's
Yes.
hope it continues in that direction.
Yes.
What about in and out of the area? I see it. I was doing some campaign work last year. I was traveling, and I was in some of these counties, Overton, Fentress, a number of places, and their populations had gone up 10% in 2 years. And people are moving from the Midwest, the Northeast, and it's interesting because we see migration to Tennessee in the rural and rural as mostly conservative people that want to get out of wherever they are. They're tired of laws changing. In the cities, it's the opposite. They want a better life. They don't want to pay income tax, all kind of stuff. But they're more progressive, and they would rather be in Nashville or Hamilton County. Carson Fleischman told me one time he goes down and has a cup of coffee at Starbucks. He sees at least 2 or 3 people moved in from another area every time he's there. What's Anderson County look like? What are we getting? Are we getting new people? Do you know anything about migration to our area? It seems like
I do
Andersonville,
not.
it seems like that area was booming for a long time.
It has been, and
Yeah.
even if you go back to 2010, 2012, and
Yes.
for transportation planning, they're doing 20 and 40-year plans
Sure,
where they're looking
sure.
at growth, and that area has always been marked as, allocation for transportation dollars because that was a high growth area. But I don't have anything other than looking at building permits
Yeah,
that
just your
are
gut,
up, new subdivisions coming in, a lot of zoning change requests are coming before commission, and I know, some of that stuff causes a lot of pain if you're a county commissioner and you're having to make that decision. Do I say yes? Do I say no?
Sure.
But part of that is just naturally happening because there's growth. People want to do things with their property. They want to sell. They want to develop. They want to build. And so, that's kind of a tough decision for county commissioners who have to make that call. I have not seen, particular anything more than high-level data that you normally see from U-Haul and things like that, where it's people are,
Sure.
what those patterns are.
There's
But
no
I
doubt-
can
no
say
doubt that the state-
anecdotally,
yeah.
I've met people from California,
Sure.
I've met them from Hawaii, I've met them from Montana. So, there are a lot
But
of
we
new
know
faces.
state numbers are big.
Yes.
A lot of people coming in
Yes.
Tennessee. Where they're going, that was kind of my curiosity,
Yes.
is where they're going. You got some new people. You got a new mayor in Rome County. We've seen some new city council people. At least, I guess we have 2 or 3 new ones, and some old ones that are new again. The county commission, 7 new people. We
7
had
new
that happen
county
about 10 or
commissioners.
15 years ago. But this one's different. These are younger people. We now have 4 women instead of 2. They're aggressive. They seem to be more studious. I don't know. That's just what I hear, but I try not to watch them. But anyway, so the question is, what are you seeing?
Well, I definitely agree with you on the more studious. So, and that's one of those things where, I'll get questions, or Leanne or Annette, or I'll, talk to the clerk. They're asking questions. They want to see historical documents. They want to understand maybe what the prior commission did, why they did it, what's the history, what's the impact, what are the numbers, what does the private act say, where does the revenue come from? So I think it's going to be, what I'm hearing inside the courthouse is a lot of compliments about, wow, and sometimes even just, for instance, being in the finance office, you're doing the work that needs to be done, and if you raise an issue like, hey, maybe this could be done better, then it looks political, and as an employee or staff member of the finance office, you don't want to be political. And so to see commissioners asking some questions, and maybe there's a way to improve things, maybe not, but it's very interesting. And then also looking around at, from Oliver Springs, Rocky Top, Oak Ridge, you do have new council members elected in each of those bodies. You've got a new mayor down in Oliver Springs, for instance, a new mayor in Rocky Top.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of these folks have ideas and projects that they want to accomplish. So I look forward to speaking with them and learning what those are. But I can tell you from, the county mayor's position that there really is a collaborative mindset, like how can we help each other? And it seems to be more of a team effort. I think East Tennessee has really been strong in terms of having a regional perspective. If something great happens in Campbell County, that's going to benefit Anderson County too, and same for Knox and Roane and a lot of that. And so I think we're seeing that internally inside our county as well, which is a good thing.
And I think that's, if you talk to Sean Gleason for very long, not only city council, but president of IB, he talks about the benefits of Anderson, Roane, and Knox benefiting from growth in the western part of Oak Ridge, even though it's not necessarily situated in Anderson
Sure.
County. It's it provides jobs, it provides revenue. They get to eat somewhere, a number of things, and I think he's got the kind of vision that we really need to look at. I mean, I hear people talk about suing DOE and all this just crazy stuff. I mean, the bottom line is that we need people that are forward thinking, that want to get some things done. And I think we've got some people on all levels that are beginning to do that.
Yeah. I did watch him on your show with
good job, didn't he? Yeah.
Grady, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the top employers, DOE, Y12 in Anderson County, the lab in Roane County. They're at the top of the list, and so those are all opportunities to do more here, to bring more here, and yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that we've seen a new energy too. I mean, who would have thought at the beginning of 15 months ago our oldest judge would be Victoria Bowen at 52 years old or 53 years old? These people are in their 40s. They're not 40, but they're 47, 48, and they're energetic and they're involved. We see the same thing. Commission, the average age of commission went down 10 years probably with these younger women, different things. And same with Michael Foster, and there's other people in there that are just kind of new and younger. And I just seen across the county, these 40-year-olds, and being in my mid-60s, that's I can relate to that. I mean, I think, and I've made a stickler with everybody I've talked to in Knoxville. We need to make transitions. It doesn't do us any good for people 75 and 80 years old to be hanging on and cashing checks. It's not there. I just think that young people have new ideas, and some of them aren't good, some of them are good, but at least we get. You use the word with me, energy. They bring energy to the table, not the same old thing, and I think that's real positive. I don't know Cresswell. He was on the show in the summer fall. He seemed very professional, very articulate. Have you talked to him or met with him or anything?
Yes, well, I knew Wade, so since I've been mayor since 2012, and he was working at the Roane Alliance, so we had some interaction, and he's already engaged. As soon as he was elected, he's at the meetings. He's got a full schedule. Yes, we've talked. We're going to talk more. A lot of the East Tennessee mayors, we talk a lot. Which I find to be a huge benefit, because sometimes we can find out, is this just an issue in my county, or are we all seeing it? And then what's the solution?
And you came on last year and did this show the same way at the end of the year, and you told me about the COVID calls. Remember, y'all had those conference calls in the morning or once a week on Fridays, I believe, and you would have Mayor Jacobs and everybody else, and everybody would talk about different things. So I think that's a very positive thing.
Yep. So like as an example, one of the things, and I don't know if this is a result, we've not identified the cause, but one of the topics of discussion, which you'll find this fascinating, that just about every county is dealing with, is folks in campers, living in campers, which, in Anderson County, we have a zoning resolution. You are supposed to be in a campground. There's supposed to be septic.
Sure.
There's supposed to be, proper electric. But a lot of counties in East Tennessee do not have zoning regs.
Define a camper.
So like an RV. And
with wheels.
Yes. So
because double lines are regularly accepted in East Tennessee.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Just give everybody a difference.
Yeah. So I'm talking about an RV, and someone is just kind of pulling into a vacant piece of land.
Anchoring for 6 months or something.
Yes. And then you get, the neighbors upset, or you have health challenges, because you're really not supposed to drop your stairs down until you've got a septic plan.
Water and sewer.
And so a lot of folks are dealing with that, and I think it's monetary challenges. And a lot of the mayors are predicting that we're going to see more of it. I don't know yet. I don't know that we've seen necessarily a rise in the issue. But when you talk to your fellow mayors, you kind of see some of this. So like some of us, I raised an issue at one of our meetings about dilapidated properties. Are you seeing more of this? And the number of mayors that just came up even afterwards and said, this is huge. We don't know what's going on. Is that like a remnant of COVID? Is it some of the, apathy or depression? I don't know. But those are minor things that, well, I say they're minor, but your phone rings a lot from them, Alan, in your zoning department or the mayor's office, and or even at the commission meeting. So, but those are some of the things that we help each other through, as well as the large issues and economic development, or how we can better partner on workforce. And so.
Let's talk about grants for a second.
Yeah.
Where's our grant money? Well, let me give this a two-step question. One, I know you have a good relation, obviously with Haggerty, but you have a good relationship with Congressman Fleischman, which is a little closer. Tell me about your relationship with Governor Lee in a couple of minutes, and then tell me about the grants coming out of the state and what we're doing with some of that money.
Okay. So, I think very highly of all of our elected delegation, Congressman Fleischman, the governor, the folks that he puts in positions of leadership. I think that's also an indicator of, your own strength is when you put strong people around you. So the grants, one of the things that's interesting, a lot of the dollars that have come through the federal government, known as the American Rescue Plan,
right.
The state of Tennessee, Governor Lee, Comptroller's Office, there has been a very focused, dedicated push to allocate those dollars to infrastructure. And there are a lot of things that you can spend those dollars on, but the state, and I'm going to credit our county commission as well, and our finance department, has really done a good job of putting the money towards those things where there are needs. I mean, we have, long-term sewer issues, water line replacement, a lot of dollars have gone to that. The state of Tennessee took a big chunk of their money and put it into that particular area. That's been a benefit to both cities and counties. The county commission, I think, did a great job and got ahead of some of the things that we normally purchase. So recognizing, for instance, I mentioned those supply chain issues with ambulances and police cars. Mm-hmm. They went ahead and allocated part of that funding for those so that they could get in front of, other areas and other orders, maybe not be as far behind. And then it also protects the fund balance, because not knowing what happens with the future, not knowing where these inflationary trends are headed, you're not with your back up against the wall all of a sudden having to do freezes or layoffs or those kind of things. So
I heard David Clark General Clark, I should say, but been a friend for a long time. I heard David get up in front of the county commission in the November meeting, I believe. We talked about some enormous amount of money that was available to us, enormous to me, I'm old, but for different kinds of projects, and they were going to try to target 2 or 3. And one of the things that came up that we really need, I'm a big fan of Melissa Miller and the work they're doing in Jackson Square. Family Justice Center, yes. And just overwhelming challenge. You our family, but we've all been involved in that some level at all. But I would like to see, God bless the tourism department, but I just don't see that as being, and this is me, Alan, the citizen, seeing that as being a biggest priority as maybe a domestic shelter. And I guess that grant money may bring that to reality in the future, but that's a real need when you're getting 2 and 3 people fleeing every day from domestic violence. And if you had a shelter or something, that's where I think infrastructure, and I guess you can call that infrastructure, it's a building, and something of that nature that could be seen, whether it's those are the kind of grant opportunities that, for me, need to be handled. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do. I presume that all the block grants are still in effect from the federal government?
Yeah, so we've got like a current community development block grant for water lines that is active. The schools are doing one to get out to some of the remote areas. The schools have been the recipients, and I'm not so sure about some of the city systems. I haven't really checked on their grants, but the schools have received a lot. The ones you're referencing, those are Office of Criminal Justice.
Yes.
Those are federal grants that come through the state of Tennessee. So yes,
a lot more than normal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bigger dollars
yes.
from everything, et cetera, et cetera. No question. All right, let's take another break, Chandler, and let's take 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll come back and talk about some other issues that are facing Anderson County.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This is my husband, Alex Hussey. Alex was about 2 weeks away from coming home.
I was point man on foot patrol, and I stopped on the bomb. Lost my legs and my left hand in an explosion.
And he suffered a severe traumatic brain injury.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
There are so many mountains to climb, and we do it together.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
To watch Alex take on this mountain, that's what this is all about.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Alex has conquered this mountain. That's something he won't forget.
With the right support, there are no limits.
Look at that smile! You did it!
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
This has meant so much.
Thank you, DAV.
Alex Hussey, thank you for your service. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference, so we can all continue to move forward together.
Hello, I'm District Attorney General Dave Clark. My fellow DAs and I successfully fought for new elder abuse laws and procedures that have police departments and agencies using improved tools to protect our seniors. Victims of elder abuse are often unable to recognize or report abuse themselves. They need your voice. If you suspect abuse, contact local law enforcement or adult protective services. Let's work together to protect our seniors.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We're talking with Anderson County Mayor Terry Frank. And if everybody was as organized as Mayor Frank, my job would be a lot easier week to week. But she had a lot of things to cover and talked about a lot of things. And we're going to keep going. We got a lot to do here in 20 minutes. So inflation, does it have an impact on us?
Well, yes, it does. I mean,
it does my 401k. I just want to go on record.
Well, I mean, it's a stealth tax.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we could talk about that for a very long time. I wish I had a crystal ball. I mean, we've got a couple things going on. You've got your
Let me give you a specific question. You got a budget. You have to come in with a budget. You propose a budget. We're going here. How much does inflation tables impact your decisions on what to budget and what to do? Is it something that everybody in county government's looking at?
Well, I think the number one issue everyone in county government looks at is what you're hearing from your employees.
That's right.
Who their paycheck does not get as far as it needs to.
Yep.
And so, and then, the tug of war here, you pay more, then are you kicking the people you're trying to help up into another tax bracket? And, we've seen that before, even when we've done raises, small raises. I'm not an economist. I study these things. That's the issue that worries me. Yes, it impacts us. So, for instance, if you look at EMS, I mean, our rates, we're capped. We're Medicare, Medicaid. And I know the federal government is passing along some of those increases, fortunately.
The reimbursement you're talking
yes,
about. Yes,
in order to address the inflation. But, what happens, I don't know that from a local government standpoint we're having enough conversation, and I don't mean even just in Anderson County, I mean as the state of Tennessee. How do we best brace for that? My own personal recommendation: make sure we have a strong, healthy fund balance.
Which we do.
So,
which you guys have done a great job.
People can still continue to get the service they need from their local government, and we can still continue to pay our employees. But that's a big issue. The cost of goods, gasoline, fortunately, has come down some, but we were you were seeing on a monthly basis budget amendments to transfer into your gas codes, because you still got to run your sheriff's vehicles, you still got to run the ambulances, the highway department, all of that. So it is a big deal. Some of it is your typical, in any economy, you might have some kind of interruption. But then I think there's also some non-monetary, you've got the non-monetary, then you've got the monetary devaluation with the sheer printing of money, and throw into the mix a lot of the stuff with what we're seeing with Bitcoin and all of this. There's a lot of games being played that kind of, I try not to focus too much on it because I can't worry. It's just try to be measured and conservative and cautious and make sure that we keep everything running.
I don't know how, we both are very familiar with New River. I learned last year, and I hadn't been up there in 2 or 3, but Scotty turned the old school into a hotel for the four-wheelers.
Yes.
We tried forever to get a train and from one side to the other to run the route. I bet I've toured that thing 20 times. Beautiful area. But finally turned it into a motel. It's been very successful. I know he's got a partner in that and some other people, but anything that's good for New River is good for me.
Yes.
I love New River.
It's funny you say that. I've run across some of the old letters and stuff on that train, and we're still fighting for the train. So you've got 42 miles from Scott County through Campbell to Anderson.
We used to ride to Scott and get to the depot, and we'd come back and we'd take people with us. The problem is it had private ownership, and we couldn't really write grants to a private owner.
Right.
If we could have gotten it transferred into a county name or something else, probably would have been easier to do. But we looked at USDA. I presume those grants are still coming, and some other things, the rural grants. So that's good that you've got that. That you're saying that you're looking at that and keeping that.
It could be a game changer for that area.
Absolutely, retail and other things. Yes, you're absolutely right. Gibbs Ferry Park.
Yeah.
Big grant coming.
And it'll be a little while before it's built, but one of the things that I like to see is the people who pay the bills. I love to see them get some amenities for what they pay local government. But in this particular case, it's a $1.8 million grant to improve Gibbs Ferry Park, which is right there between Oak Ridge and Clinton. And it would serve as a further extension or trailhead to connect Melton Lake, and there's a lot going on there. Then you have the widening of State Route 170, which is Edgemore Road. TDOT is building into those plans pedestrian and bike trail, and it's going to really tie all of that together. But there'll be kayak launches, improved boat launch, better amenities there, better parking, some delineation there where you don't have a real ideal setup for parking boats. But anyhow, we're excited about that one.
Tell me, we hear a lot about the American nuclear site over in Blockhouse Valley, is that correct?
Yes.
But you come right down the street behind Jake Butcher's old house. We're going to talk 80s terms. Right behind Jake Butcher's house, you get back to the end in the back where you turn right to go down West Wolf Valley, I guess. Yes.
Blockhouse Valley.
Blockhouse Valley.
Yes.
But there's an old site there that American Nuclear had that was very contaminated, and we tried to seek funds to clean that up. A, why is that a priority? And B, are we making any progress?
We are making progress. So the county has a little over 290 acres out there. So there's the old landfill, if you recall, and I guess it had its own issues, and that's finally the remediation is fine. There'll still be some testing there done for years, as with any kind of situation like that, but the county has expressed a desire in years past, before I even became mayor, of doing something like, park or some kind of passive park. I mean, maybe even tie something in with Oak Ridge Rowing. I mean, we're one of the premier.
Sure. That makes sense.
I've been back there with some of the Oak Ridge folks from the chamber back in the day. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunity there. Well, that American Nuclear site is right at the entrance. I mean, it would be, welcome to your community amenity
with
the
bomb,
fence
right?
around it and the
maybe making a museum
signs.
of some kind. I don't know.
But the Commissioner Greg Young, Deputy Commissioner of TDEC, Steve Sanders, Director of Remediation, they have been working with EPA. We went out on site. I referenced it as this is really a very small site, but it would be a really cool, for lack of better terminology, just kind of cold case. It's something that's been in TDEC's possession for the protection of the community, to make sure the fence is always up and it's mowed and it's monitored. Well, they have committed to getting this completely cleaned up. So
what does that mean?
Means one way or the other, whether it's going to be EPA or TDEC dollars, they're going to come in. They started with EPA on site a few months ago to do the first phase assessment.
And they're willing to finance that, right? They're
Yes.
going to work with that. That's
Yes.
good. That's good, because
Yeah.
that's had a lot of different owners over the
Yeah.
years. It took a long time to get EPA and TDEC and others to work on the new landfill that we need as we continue to clean up behind Y12
Yes.
and other places. So, but you got to be safe too. There's a number of
Absolutely. I mean, you've got all this nuclear going on with Oak Ridge and public hearings. You've got the Kairos, Hermes, and I just got an email today on another public hearing. I guess it's going to take place at the end of January. So nuclear renaissance being, terminology being bandied about.
Let me talk about the three contractors for a second. In Oak Ridge, which I'm obviously here and am more familiar with than the county, when I was young, when Union Carbide was here in the 70s, and Eastman Kodak did so much for Kingsport. I mean, they were just invested. We get a great community response, I think, from CNS.
Mm-hmm.
I think some from, another decent response from UCOR. And ORNL's, I'm sure they're participating in a lot of things. I just don't see them as much. Do they do much for the county? Obviously you don't want to say anything negative, but are there ways that those organizations can get more involved in the county? I think there's tremendous resources there. A lot of people that work for those individuals live in the rural areas of the county.
Yes. Well, I see them, for instance, you think about the Naval, Junior ROTC program at Oak Ridge High School. I mean, to me, and I don't mean this critically, but you would think Oak Ridge, founded to end the war, you would have had a program there. And maybe that's just a false assumption on my part, but there's now a program. It's 100 cadets or more. It's an award-winning program, and CNS made that happen.
CNS,
so I
see them everywhere.
Yeah, I see them like, they seem more targeted for how they're going to accomplish something.
Sure.
So I do see that impact. I have discussed before on occasion with folks from NNSA about, how you all need future workers 20 years from now, 10 years from now, and I would like to see more in terms of workforce development, or even, there are injections of assistance in terms of a classroom project or things like that, but I think there are so many brilliant minds in those organizations.
For sure.
I would like to see, I guess maybe larger visions with some of the planners there. I think back on, if you look, gosh, back to the 70s, and
Sure.
I'm kind of a nerd that likes to look at some of these historical documents, and I see the hand of TVA, for instance, in, okay, let's better organize local government, and here's the work plan. We're going to help seed this small little area and get you off the ground. And I think, is that our fault locally that we're not asking for that? Or is it, federal strings that prevent them from doing that kind of vision-minded partnership with the locals? I don't know, and I'm going to accept a little bit of blame myself because I'm not always asked that question.
There you go. Lightning round, as you like to call it. Let's take 60 seconds on 3 or 4. We got about 7 or 8 minutes left. We'll take one more short break, but let's just, Bull Run closing. When does it close?
2023, the end of 2023.
Okay, so we got basically 1 year to go.
Not good timing when we're doing rolling blackouts, but.
Yeah, and to be fair to TVA, there's a public hearing and there's some debate over emissions and stuff. And the federal government has restricted those emissions down to, a fraction of what they were. But TVA is leaving in a year and they need to get some waste out and they filed for a permit. I'm not an expert, but it seems pretty reasonable to me. But for 12 months, it's not like it's an ongoing need.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. So I'm very supportive of TVA in a lot of those things. And not always, but, some things you got to take it day by day. Okay. Automotive clustering, Quentin, how's that working these days?
And I want to clarify my comment on that. I'm talking about capacity and, are we where we need to be? I'm not saying that, I'm faulting them for working in that particular environment, but the site itself, I hope it's redeveloped. It's a fantastic site. It could be a regional boom for the area. I want to see something great there. I don't want to see a chemical plant or something like that, but you've got river access, you've got the road expansion there, you've got...
And let's jump right over because, everybody has a different opinion, but that Aspire Park is amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing.
And I think Joe and others are putting a lot of money into it, and I think, but what we're talking about is our next door neighbor to the plant. TVA, and they've worked with Aspire to make that park. But we're talking about Bull Run, we're talking about throw a rock and hit it from Aspire Park. So it seems like we could get something to complement it or to do stuff that would make that area even more, because people are going to be coming from Edgemore and they're going to be coming from Pellissippi. That park will be substantial enough to where we'll have 80% of the people coming from there. Good for tourism, good for tax dollars.
My vision was always to have Elon Musk come and on the old fossil site, put the Elon Musk flag and do something there. But
Elon, if you're watching, and I'm going to bet you're not, but we'll get the tape to you. Please focus on Tesla so the stock will go back up instead of going down every week. But he knows what he's doing. I bet on that guy.
Yes.
He knows. He's getting Twitter straightened. He's going to get some other stuff done. But you'd be surprised at people that contact me every once in a while. Say, I saw that from Nashville or from Washington. Not political, in business, New York. Somebody will send it to them. You say a word and it codes everything, keys in the system, and does things like that. Tell me about Rhone State. Rhone State, are they the greatest? And I like the principal. Not the principal, but the president. I like him because he went to Cofield with Brad. That's the main reason I like him. But they always provided a service. When I went there, the age was 10 years older. People from Scott County, Campbell County, Anderson County. They provided a mission to provide skills and levels to students. Many go on to be teachers at Tennessee Tech, but some just get a certificate and they're out making $20 an hour, providing a service or skill. Is Rhone State still very active in the rural community?
They are, and then we have the new facility that's there at the industrial park. Thanks to SL Tennessee, they donated that land. So you have Rhone State and Tennessee College of Applied Technology that are there doing
classes. What do they do? What do they teach? Technical job training stuff?
Yes, everything.
So. I should have done some of that. I just didn't have any skills.
And there is more we can do in that whole area. I mean, really and truly.
But Rome State's a
there
real
is
anchor for us.
demand.
I mean, you can say Pellissippi too, but Rome State's in our county. That's why I
Yes.
bring it up. And that's
Yeah.
wrong. But I think there's a lot of their role, and I give Bill Lee a ton of credit in the lotto. And, you know, for the most conservative state, one of the most conservative states in the country, we've refocused our lotto. We have, Obama praised it, we have one of the most liberal community college programs because we have the money to do it, right? And we've done all this. Now we have legalized gambling. You pick your game every day. I mean, it's just kind of interesting how a great capitalist state has taken advantage of many benefits to help people with different things. I'm kind of impressed by that.
Well, you look at Tennessee's, so our graduation from high school, whether it's a GED or a high school diploma, our numbers have gone up. I want to say...
statewide?
Yeah, yes. Our trend line is up. Same thing with whether associates or four-year degrees. So we're headed in the right direction, and a lot of other states are actually looking at us. And some of that, too, I have to give Governor Haslam some credit for.
Oh, he's the best we've ever had,
I remember when he was first running, I was saying if someone can put rocket boosters on education, it's going to be Governor Haslam, and he absolutely did.
He is just, I've said on the show 20 times, he's the best governor the state's ever had, and for a number of reasons. Everybody in the local politics, which I'm very active, will consider him very much a moderate. And his whole downtown Knoxville team would be considered. But yet he went in, embraced conservative values, got a progressive agenda, had Senator Haggerty with him at that time, and others. It was a super team.
You know, it's kind of, and I have a discussion about him with some of my conservative friends because if you look and you measure conservatism by actual accomplishments or action taken, he did it.
That's
he
exactly
just did not get out there and pound.
Or he allowed it to happen.
Yes.
He didn't oppose it. That's right.
You just didn't know he was doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He just did an extraordinary job, I think, in that. He did as Knoxville mayor, too. He's been struggling ever since, that's for sure. But, I mean, that's my opinion. Nobody else. Does the culture of Bull Run have economic impact on us? Are people losing jobs or transitioning? What are we doing with that?
TVA committed that all of those folks would be employed in other areas. Yes, and then there are contract employees too, and not all of them live here. I mean, sometimes they come in and do the necessary work. So, yeah.
Yeah. How many people employed out there? Is it 100 and something? Down to 60 or 70 in the last
Yes. I think maybe my memory's wrong on this. I want to say at the height or, some of the peak, it was 150, including the contractors, but my memory could be failing there.
And I have to give Tracy Wandell a lot of credit. He stayed on top of those issues in his community, and he's fought hard for them. And whether you agree or disagree on any issue, Tracy's always been out front and represented his people well, I think. And I learned some things from him. I'll pick up the phone call and he'll tell me what he figures is going on in different things. And he's been on the show too. Everybody's on the show. How many minutes did he say?
I thought he said two.
Two. Okay, we can do two more. That's good. I want to talk about Gail Cook. I think Gail Cook had the impact on county government that Haslam had on state government. We know and we like some of the previous budget people in different areas and stuff, but Gail Cook took politics out of the courthouse. I mean, she did her best with people like Lynch, but the budget department was run top. And I got to give credit. Robbie Holbrook is getting a ton of praise.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
I mean, he learned from her like Chris Phelps and Quentin learned from her. But she just did an extraordinary job kind of pioneering and being efficient, doing things, and pleasant. She was always pleasant. Tough, but pleasant.
It's an important position. I mean, they have to interact with absolutely everyone.
New commissioners tell me all the time, we ask Robbie for something, we get it.
Yep, he does.
He's quick, he's on the top. So I think we got a lot of, I give Robbie a lot of credit. I think that's good. That's a good thing. I think y'all are all working together. Mayor, tell me what you want to talk about the last minute. We're all admirers of yours. Our good friend Ron Reagan got reelected.
Yes.
That was great.
I guess I want to close with, I think, 2022, Alan, I'm extremely thankful for so many people who do a good job working out there. And I think about, times like now with the cold, whether it's natural gas, the folks running the heavy equipment. I want to use my last seconds here to just say thank you to everybody out there who just works to make this county a great place to be.
Grandkids are good?
Everybody's good,
Good.
yes.
All the boys are good?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Where's Avery working?
He is at a conservative think tank,
Oh,
free
that's
market think tank, Show Me
Larry,
Institute.
you're one of the best in Tennessee, and we appreciate you coming on sharing with us.
Thank you,
so
Al.
much. See you next week.